A very good afternoon, students. In the previous session, we have seen the alkalinity of water, that is determination of alkalinity of water sample. And also we have seen what are the various types of corrosion we have. In some of the types of corrosions are waterline corrosion, differential aeration, and galvanic corrosion, pitting corrosion. Yes. So among various types of corrosion, we have seen around 3 to 4 types of corrosion in the previous session. And the next topic today is the last class for the second unit. Today I'm going to explain you the last topics in the second unit. So those are specifications of potable water. Already we have seen that. Just let us recall. And after the specification, chlorination and break point of chlorination. So what are the specification of potable water? What is mean by the potable water? Potable water is nothing but the water which is useful for the drinking purpose. That is called the potable water. So what are the characteristics? How the water should be for the drinking purpose? Yes, let us see the characteristics or the specifications of the drinking water. The sparkling clear and odorless. That means it must be clearless and odorless. It should not have any color and it should not have any smell. And pleasant in taste. That means it should not have any taste and the taste must be pleasant. Perfectly cool and turbidity should not exceed 10 ppm. That means the turbidity must be less than 10 ppm. And it should be free from the objectionable minerals such as lead, arsenic, chromium, manganese salts, because these are toxic and these are increasing toxicity to the water, drinking water. So these minerals must be absent in the drinking water. And it should be free from objectionable gases like hydrogen sulfide. And pH should be in the range of 7 to 8. That means it should not be less than 7. It should not be more than 8. And alkalinity should not be high. That means it should not be more than 8. Up to 8 is acceptable for the drinking water. And if the pH value is more than 8, the alkaline nature will be increasing and that is not acceptable for the drinking water. And dissolved solid should be less than 500 ppm. Whatever the solids are there in the dissolved state in the drinking water, it must be less than 500 ppm. And it should be soft and free from disease causing microorganisms. Fluoride content should be less than 1.5 ppm and chloride sulfate content should be less than 250 ppm. And the next one is disinfection of water by chlorination. What is mean by the disinfection? Disinfection is nothing but killing the bacteria. We are killing the bacteria in the water sample by using chlorination process. You maybe you know about this. In the municipality, the people are adding the chlorine or bleaching powder to kill the bacteria in the water sample. You can observe the smell of the chlorine. Why the chlorine is added to the drinking water? The chlorine is added to the water to kill the bacteria in the water sample. So that is disinfection. That means killing the bacteria. Chlorination is the most commonly using disinfectant in water treatment throughout the world. It is one of the best technique and the cheapest technique and well-known technique also. It can be employed directly as gas or in the form of concentrated solution in water. So how we can do the chlorination process? Either we can send the gas, chlorine gas in the water, or else we can pass the concentrated concentrated liquid chlorine we can add in the water to kill the bacteria. It produces hypochlorous acid, which is a powerful germicide. So when we add the chlorine, either the gaseous chlorine or the liquid chlorine, when we add this in the water sample, what is happening here? Whatever the bacteria is there and whatever the chlorine is added to the water sample, that chlorine is reacting with the water to produce hypochlorous acid. And this hypochlorous acid is acting as a germicide. That means it is plays main important role here. It is killing the bacteria. It is acting as a germicide here. So when chlorine is added to the water, what we are getting here, we are getting hydrochloric acid. Along with that, we're getting the hypochlorous acid. So this hypochlorous acid is acting as a germicide. So immediately the hypochlorous acid is reacting with the bacteria and killing. So that is chlorination process. In chlorination process, microorganisms are killing and also bacteria. So results from chemical reaction of hypochlorous acid with the enzymes in the cells of organisms. So since enzyme is essential for the metabolic process of the microorganisms, so death of microorganisms results due to inactivation of enzyme by hypochlorous acid. So what is happening here? Due to the formation of hypochlorous acid, all the disease causing microorganisms and bacteria is killing here. So it results from chemical reaction of hypochlorous acid with enzymes in the cells of organism. So whatever the enzymes are there in the organism, it is reacting, that hypochlorous acid is reacting with the enzyme. Because of that reason, all the bacteria and microorganisms are killing here. And we are using one of the apparatus in the chlorination process. In the disinfection of chlorination process, we are using one of the equipment. We are using one of the apparatus. That apparatus used for disinfection by chlorine is known as the chlorinator. So whatever the equipment we are using here, that equipment is known as a chlorinator. And it is a large tower. That means a chlorinator is having a large tower, and which contains a number of baffle plates. It contains a number of plates. These steel plates are called as the baffle plates. And from its top, raw water and proper quantity of chlorine solution are introduced. So we are having one of the inlet. We are having two inlets at the top of the tower. What is the use of these towers? Through these towers, we are sending the water. That means hard water. And along with that, we are sending the chlorine gas or the liquid. So when these two are sending in the chlorinator, hypochlorous acid is forming, and thus hypochlorous acid is immediately reacting with the enzyme and to kill the bacteria. So these gets thoroughly mixed during their passage through the water. So for filtered water, about 0.3 to 0.5 ppm of chlorine is sufficient. That means if the water is filtered, we can add around 0.3 to 0.5 ppm of chlorine. That is sufficient for the filtered water. But disinfected water is taken out from the outlet at the bottom of the chlorinator. So finally, we are getting the purified water, that means which is free from the disease causing microorganisms and the bacteria through the outlet. That is chlorination process. First, I will show the equipment. This is the equipment. So what is the name of the equipment? The name of the equipment is the chlorinator. See here, we are having, it is having a number of plates. These plates are called the baffle plates. And it is a large tower-like structure. These are the two inlets. Through these two inlets, we are sending raw water and the concentrated chlorine solution. And this is the outlet. Through this outlet, we are getting the disinfected water or the pure water. Yes, this is about chlorinator. But it is having some factors affecting on the chlorine, efficiency of chlorine. There are some factors which are affecting on the chlorination process. One is temperature of water, time of contact, and pH of water. These are the factors affecting on efficiency of chlorine. The first factor is the temperature of water. The rate of reaction with enzyme increases with temperature. So we know that whenever hypochlorous acid is forming, that hypochlorous acid immediately reacting with the enzymes to kill the bacteria. But here that reactivity, the speed of reactivity between the hypochlorous acid and the enzyme will increases when the temperature of the water is more. That means if the temperature of the water is more, the reactivity between the hypochlorous acid and enzyme is more. But when the temperature is less, the reactivity between the hypochlorous acid and enzyme is less. So consequently, the death of microorganisms by chlorine increases with rise in temperature. That means if the temperature is more for the water, there is a fast death of microorganisms takes place here. That is about temperature of water. And the next one, time of contact. Death rate of microorganisms by chlorine is proportional to the number of microorganisms remaining alive. So when the number of microorganisms are more, it will take more time. It will take more time for killing the bacteria. When gradually the number of microorganisms are decreasing, the time of contact also decreasing here. So always it is directly proportional to each other. That means time of contact is directly proportional to the number of disease causing microorganisms in the water. And the next one, pH of water. At lower pH values, we know that at lower pH, the water is having acidic nature. A small contact is required to kill the bacteria. That means there is no need of more effort to kill the bacteria if it is having pH range from 5 to 6.5. And we have seen about the chlorinator. And now let us see what are the advantages and disadvantages of chlorination. It is effective and economical. It is stable, requires small space of storage and does not deteriorate on keeping. It can be used at high as well as low temperatures. It does not introduce any impurity in water. It is most ideal disinfectant. So these are the advantages of chlorination. But there are some disadvantages in chlorination. Excess of chlorine produces bad taste and disagreeable odor. So maybe you can observe it sometimes when you get the municipal water, you will get the more bleaching powder smell. But that is not acceptable. In some cases, maybe the water color also will be changing to white color. That white color is due to the excess addition of bleaching powder in the drinking water. So that is not acceptable. Because of increasing the quantity of additional chlorine, the taste will be changing and odor also changing. It is not acceptable for the drinking purpose. And excess chlorine produce irritation on mucous membrane. So which is having in throat. Yes, when the chlorine concentration is increases in the drinking water, which is irritates the throat. So it is irritating the mucous membrane which is present in the throat. So the quantity of chlorine in treated water should not exceed 0.1 to 0.2 ppm. So how about the chlorine content? Chlorine content must be 0.1 to 0.2 ppm. It should not exceed. That means it should not be more than 0.2 ppm in the drinking water. It is more effective below pH 6.5 and less effective at higher pH value. That means the chlorination process is the best method when the pH of the water is less than 7. That means when the water is acidic, then only it is the best technique. But when the pH value is more than 6.5, this method is not more effective. These are the disadvantages of chlorination. So now let us see the last topic, which is breakpoint of chlorination. Now we know what is meant by the chlorination. Why we are adding the chlorine? What is the use of chlorine in the drinking water? Chlorine is added to the hard water to kill the disease causing microorganisms and the bacteria. But we know that when we add the small portion of chlorine, the bacteria will not kill. We know that at one of the point only, at certain point only, the entire bacteria will be killing. Yes, at one of the point. That point is identified by the persons who are treating the water. They know how much quantity of chlorine should be added to the drinking water. For example, let us assume the water is required around 0.3 ppm or 0.5 ppm of chlorine to kill the entire bacteria in the water sample. But if we add directly the 0.5 ppm of chlorine to the water, the entire bacteria will not be killing. So what we are doing the gradual process. This is a gradual process. So we are gradually increasing the quantity of chlorine to kill the bacteria in the water sample. But when we add around 0.2 ppm of chlorine, the entire bacteria will not be killing here. But at certain stage only, the entire bacteria is killing. That point, Wherever the entire bacteria is killing, at that point, the point is called the break point of chlorination. Now let us see what is meant by the break point of chlorination. It means that chlorination of water to such an extent that living organisms as well as other organic impurities in water are destroyed. Yes. So what is the use of chlorination? By adding chlorine, not only living organisms, even the organic impurities also destroyed in the chlorination process. It involves in the addition of sufficient amount of chlorine to oxidize organic matter, reducing substances, and free ammonia in the raw water. Yes, what is the use of chlorination process? It is oxidizing the organic matter. That means it is removing the organic matter, reducing substances, and also free ammonia in the raw water, and leaving behind mainly free chlorine, which possesses disinfecting action against pathogenic bacteria. So after removing these, that means free ammonia, organic matter, and reducing substances, there is a small amount of free chlorine. There is a small amount of free chlorine which is acting as a disinfectant, which is doing disinfecting action against the pathogenic bacteria. So it is also known as a free residual chlorination. That means after killing the entire bacteria, whatever the chlorine is present in the water, that is called the free residual chlorine. Until get the free residual chlorine, we are doing this process. That is break point of chlorination. So in break point of chlorination, in the chlorination process, that means by adding chlorine, it is oxidizing organic matter, reducing substances, and the free ammonia. So we are having a step-by-step process in the breakpoint of chlorination. Let us see. Initially, we are adding a small amount, that small doses of chlorine. Initially, for lower doses of chlorine, there is no free residual chlorine since all adding chlorine gets consumed for doing complete oxidation of reducing substances present in the water. Initially, there is no chlorine in the water, only impurities are there. So by adding the initial dose of chlorine, what that chlorine is doing, that chlorine is oxidizing the reducing substances. So by the addition of initial amount of chlorine, it is oxidizing the reducing substances present in the water. That means it is removing the reducing substances or reducing substances in the water sample in the first stage. And in the second stage, that means as the amount of chlorine dosage is increasing gradually, amount of residual chlorine also shows steady increase. That means the residual chlorine, free residual chlorine value will be increasing. This stage corresponds to the formation of chloroorganic compounds without oxidizing them. In the initial stage, the reducing substances are oxidizing because there is no free residual chlorine. But in the second stage, by addition of the gradual amount of chlorine, the free residual chlorine will be increasing. So whatever the free residual chlorine is there, that chlorine will be reacting with the organic impurities in the water sample to form chloroorganic compounds. Instead of oxidizing, there is formation of chloroorganic compounds. So at still higher dose of applied chlorine, oxidation of organic and microorganisms gets, in consequently the amount of free residual chlorine also decreases. So after increasing the gradual amount of chlorine, what is happening? This chloroorganic compound will be oxidized. That means it will be minimizing, it will be killing. So when it is killing, the residual chlorine also gradually decreasing. So when the oxidative destruction is completed, it reaches minima. That means it reaches minimum. That means a minimum amount of free residual chlorine will be there after killing the entire bacteria. And after minima, that after reaching minima, the added chlorine is not used in any reaction. That means already all the bacteria is killed. In the initial stage, all the reducing substances are oxidized. In the second stage, what happened? In the second stage, there is no free chlorine. That means in the second stage, there is a little bit amount of free chlorine. That chlorine is reacting with the organic impurities to form chloroorganic compounds. But at the third stage, by adding the excess amount of chlorine, at the third stage, what happened? The entire bacteria has killed. That means whatever the chloroorganic compounds are there, whatever the ammonia is there, the entire bacteria is killed at the third stage. So at the third stage, it reaches the minima. There is no other impurities in the water sample at the third stage. So after the third stage, when we are adding the excess amount of chlorine, that will be acting as a free residual chlorine. When we increase the amount of chlorine also, that will be in the form of free residual chlorine only. Because after the fourth stage, when we add excess amount of chlorine, there is no impurities in the water sample to kill. Yes. So at the fourth stage, there is only free residual chlorine by addition of excess amount of chlorine. So hence, for effectively killing microorganisms, sufficient chlorine has to be added. So after the fourth stage also, we should not add excess amount of chlorine. Already I told you that it should not exceed 0.3 ppm in the drinking water. Yes, it should not increase the 0.3 ppm. It should be up to 0.3 ppm only. So after that, we have to stop this process. Addition of chlorine in such doses is known as a break point or free residual chlorination. This process is called the break point of chlorination. Yes. And this is about the diagram for the break point of chlorination. Here we are having a graph on x-axis. On x-axis, we are taking the chlorine dose which we are adding. On y-axis, we are having the residual chlorine. Yes, but we know that at the initial stage, is there any free residual chlorine? There is no free residual chlorine. Whatever the amount of chlorine is added, that chlorine is reducing, that is oxidizing, reducing substances. So at the initial stage, the residual chlorine amount is minimum. But by increasing the amount of chlorine at one of the stage, the residual chlorine will be increasing because that chlorine is reacting with organic impurities to form chloroorganic compounds and the chloramine. But at the third stage, by adding the excess amount of chlorine, all the bacteria is killing here. And at the fourth stage, that means after the third stage, when you are adding the excess amount of chlorine, that is in the form of free residual chlorine only. And that should not be exceed 0.5 ppm. That is about break point of chlorination. So now let us see what are the advantages and disadvantages of break point of chlorination. It ensures complete destruction of organic matter, which impart color, bad odor, and unpleasant taste to water. That means it is removing color, bad odor, and unpleasant taste also. It completely destroys all the disease causing microorganisms. It prevents the growth of any weeds in the water. Yes, these are the advantages of break point of chlorination. Dechlorination. Dechlorination means when the excess amount of chlorine is there in the water, we have to remove that chlorine. That is called the dechlorination process. Overchlorination after the break point produces unpleasant taste and odor in water. That already told you. When we add the excess amount of chlorine, that is unacceptable because it is giving a bad odor and bad taste. So these objectionable qualities may be removed by filtering the overchlorinated water through a bed of molecular carbon. So whatever the water is having the excess amount of chlorine, that water is passing through the bed of the chlorine, the carbon. We are passing all the water to the carbon bed. So this carbon bed is absorbing the excess amount of chlorine in it. So alternatively, a small percentage of activated carbon is nothing but the charcoal, may be added directly to the water, and after allowing a short reaction period, it is then removed by the filtration process. So we are adding the charcoal and also we are passing through the filter bed of carbon, and finally by doing the filtration process, we can remove the chlorine in the water sample. If there is any excess amount of chlorine is there, we are doing the dechlorination process. This is about the dechlorination process. But objectionable qualities resulting from overchlorination may also be remedied by the addition of a small percentage of sulfur dioxide or sodium sulfate or sodium thiosulfate. Also by adding the chemicals also, we can remove the excess amount of chlorine in the water, because whatever the chemicals are adding, these chemicals are reacting with the chlorine to produce harmless products in the water sample. So, but better method is the first method, but by using the second method also, we can prevent the excess amount of chlorine in the water sample. So thank you so much, ma'am. And this is about the unit 2. And in the next class, I'm going to start the unit 3, that is a polymer chemistry. So in the polymer chemistry, just I will give the introduction. That means the main important topics in the introduction, I will explain you in the next class. Thank you so much.